You really should check out the Creation Museum. Can you explain why no modern human has lived past 150, let alone 800? And can you explain how the world flooded when all the rain added up wouldn't flood the world? Yeah. Okay. So I highly recommend that you check out Answers in Genesis, the website. And if you actually want to go on a trip, I highly recommend that you go to the Creation Museum. Been there. It's awesome. Now, that being said, what you have to understand is that the Earth is not as old as people think it is. It's actually only about 6,000 years old. So, how did the people before the flood live longer? Well, that's because there was a vapor canopy around the Earth. And a scientific fact is that UV rays cannot travel through water. Now, there still is a vapor canopy around the world now, but it's very thin. It was much thicker then. Some people say it was water, some people say it was ice, but either way, there was some kind of H2O canopy that encircled the Earth like a big bubble. Now, this would kick up the hyperbaric pressure, so people would be able to breathe easier, they would feel stronger, things would grow bigger, plants would be richer and fuller, and this blocking out the UV rays on top of it would naturally encourage longer lifespans, dramatically so. Now, what about the water? Well, that's part of this explanation too. So this canopy, when it failed and collapsed, that is what we get when Genesis here says that the floodgates of heaven opened up, and the floodgates of the deep also opened up. So Moses tells us that before the flood, water would just bubble up from the ground to water the plants. There was no such thing as rain at that point. So we have water coming up from the ground, and we see remnants of this in the fissures that are under the ocean. That's what's left of the fountains of the deep, where the water that used to bubble up gushed out in dramatic amounts, and then you had the vapor canopy collapsing. So when it says the whole world was covered, it doesn't mean that it was flooded like a swimming pool. It means it deluged the whole all the mountains were covered because all the water was coming down at once. It wasn't a steady puddle around the Earth. It was rushing water all around the Earth. So hopefully that helps you make sense. I very much abbreviated it, but you can find all these answers in Answers in Genesis. They do a much better job.